My dad, he was a genius. He was a visionary, entrepreneur, philanthropist, multimillionaire. You name it, he did it. He was he was born in Nigeria, left in his late teens, ended up getting a full ride academic scholarship to study architecture and engineering in London. Got his bachelor's, got his master's, started accumulating his wealth in the West. He was one of the first black men on the board of the World Trade Center in New York City. He was one of the first black men on the board of the British Financial Planning Council in the UK. I mean, the dude was a genius. After a number of years and after accumulating all of his wealth in the West, he decided, I want to go back to Nigeria because Nigeria is rich in resources. You got oil, you got natural gas, you got cocoa, you got gold, you got minerals. As a matter of fact, you got China not going into parts of Africa, not just Nigeria, but other parts of Africa as well, and buying up land and doing deals with Nigerian governments or property owners and to mine these areas for natural resources. And so my dad, knowing how rich Nigeria was in resources and is in resources, he wanted to create like a Nigerian Wall Street, like an African Wall Street, a financial sector that people from around the world could come to and do business in Africa. And so in the 1970s, he bought a massive plot of land called Maroko. It still exists to this day. And that's where he was going to build his Wall Street. He bought it for £8 million in the 1970s. That's a few bucks. That's a lot of money, yeah. And so that's where he was going to build this Wall Street, essentially. And there was a military coup somewhere around the 70s, 80s, can't remember exactly. I want to say it was the late 70s. And that Maroko was taken from him. Fast forward, he went to court with the Nigerian government, fought them, and then after the coup subsided, he wasn't going to go fight against a military regime. So after the coup had subsided, he fought against the Nigerian government. In the court system, the federal government said to him, all right, what do you want for compensation? We're not going to give you Maroko back. What do you want? Do you want the money back? What is it that you want? And so they settled, and in the settlement, my dad requested a lagoon. It was literally a swamp, but he requested a lagoon. And the Nigerian government was like, a lagoon? What are you going to do with a lagoon? He was like, don't worry about it. Just give me the lagoon. And so what he did was he hired Dutch engineers to dredge the foreshore, create 6 interlinks, and essentially create one of the first man-made islands in Nigeria, which it exists to this day. It's now known as Banana Island. When he started dredging the foreshore and creating the island, that's when I was born. So I was born in 82. And I was born into the riches and wealth. We had nannies, cars, drivers. I mean, you name it. We traveled all over the world. My dad was a multimillionaire. So that's the life I was born into. Fast forward, after the land had formed, and he started construction on the buildings. The Lagos state government, not the federal government, but the Lagos state government came in and said the federal government was never supposed to award him the lagoon. They said that the lagoon belonged to the state. But Nigeria is a very corrupt nation. It's historically been one of the most corrupt countries for the last 40, 50 decades. And they conveniently waited until the land had formed and until construction started, the building, to come in and say that belonged to us. That lagoon belonged to us.
They just took it from him.
So they essentially took it. My mom, would tell my dad all the time, listen, you need to put money back in the States because I don't trust the Nigerian system. And if what happened to you in the 70s happens again, we're going to lose everything. Because my dad had leveraged everything, all his art, our house, millions of dollars. And he would always tell my mom, listen, my priority is Nigeria. Let me get this whole thing set up so that Nigeria can be in a better place. And once it's all set up and we're getting paid rent and all that, then we'll put all the millions of dollars in the U.S. But this is my priority, because he was trying to do something for the people. It wasn't about him doing, he was going to make money, but it was about him doing something for Nigeria. As a matter of fact, the same architect of the World Trade Center was a good friend of his. He architected and created the blueprints for the Twin Towers that were supposed to stand at the center of Lagoon City. His name was changed to Banana Island, right? Because again, he wanted to do something for the people. Anyway, I say all that to say, He went to court to go fight the Nigerian government again, and he died three weeks later.
How did he die?
So, long story short, a lot more to the stories on my book Transform. I break it down, but the autopsy showed that he was given bad medication. He was bitten by a dog. He went for a walk, super stressed out.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria, yeah, super stressed out. Went for a walk, and that's what he would do to clear his mind. Neighbor's dog on the compound next to us broke free. My dad had done these walks a bunch of times. Never happened. Dog broke free, slid through the gate, bit him. Right. So my dad naturally, he went to the doctors. Right. I want to say the next day, and got medication to treat. I think it was supposed to be like anti-rabies, like prophylaxis. I can't remember, but some type of medication. Didn't take the medication right away. Flew to Germany real quick because he had friends and lawyers and stuff in Germany. Did something out there in Germany. Flew from Germany to New York. Was out there for a couple days. And then he went. My mom told him, "You need to take the medication." He wouldn't take it. He didn't take it. He's like, "I'm gonna wait till I get back home." Gets back to Nigeria, takes the medication, and goes to go take a bath. Never comes out. So medications.
He just had a reaction with the.
No, it was essentially poison. Yeah, because my dad. He was very connected in Nigeria. He was connected to politicians. He was connected to the Oluwolu, which is considered like the king of the Yorubas. He was connected to generals. He was connected to a lot of people. My dad was a very, very driven person. And again, he wanted to create the island because he felt in his mind, if I create something where there was never something, no one could ever come in and say it's mine, because it never existed. Right. And so he thought he had bulletproofed this island. He bulletproofed this dream of his. And in reality, there's a saying in Nigeria, if you fight corruption, it'll fight back. Because Nigeria is so corrupt. And so when they found a loophole and did what they did, they knew that come hell or high water, my dad was going to fight tooth and nail to get it back.
So they killed him.
So essentially they killed him. And my dad's personal security guard to this day is one of the managers of the island. So it wasn't just people outside, but it was people in his circle. So
that guy's still there today.
Still there today.
You feel a certain type of way, like he.
Well, for him to be my dad, there were a lot of people that were after my dad was gone, inside his circle, outside of his circle, that got portions of that island.